Well, hello. We are back on the PW80. It's my kid's 93 Yamaha PW80. We've done a couple of videos on it. The first one was reviving it after it sat for the last 4 or 5 years. Put a new carburetor on it, new petcock on the fuel tank, new air box, air intake, replaced oil seal that was leaking on the shift shaft, new spark plug, got it running again. And then we did a video of my kid riding circles around the front yard here, so hopefully you've seen both of those. I've gotten some good comments on that. Appreciate that. If you haven't checked those out, do me a favor, go over and look at those. Nothing too exciting, but you know, of course, it's nice to get a little feedback and hear your stories of your own kid and PW80, or maybe a PW80 that you ride, whatever. What are we doing today? Got a couple of things. Since the last video, I walked out here one day and there was a puddle of oil under the bike. So did a little investigating and discovered that the left front fork has lost its seal and it's leaked all the oil out of it. So I got a seal kit to fix that. Also, a couple of you noticed in the other video that he was a little tall for the bike, and that's the purpose here today. I've got a suspension lift kit that I'm going to attempt to install today. Here's the kit. I ordered off of a place that I found on Facebook, suspensionliftkits.com or something like that. There's his information there. What does the kit consist of? It consists of some couple of plugs there to install in the front forks to raise them up, stiffen them up a little bit. Another plug that goes, or extension that goes on the rear shock. The seal kit to replace the leaking seals. Fork oil already pre-measured, and an extended kickstand, because once you raise this up, the existing or the stock kickstand is too short. So we've got a replacement kickstand there. Of course, we've got instructions, got my climber's manual, some liquid encouragement there. In retrospect, looking back, I probably could have saved myself some money on this kit. It may not have been the best purchase. Could have made these plugs myself. There's probably a better way to do the rear shock than just this extension. As old as it is, somebody did notice in the video of my kid riding around the yard that the shock was pretty well worn out, and I would agree with that. I'm going to go ahead and put the extension on for now while I look for another shock, you know, for a KX65 or another shock that will fit this bike and can accomplish the raise or the, you know, raising the suspension. I think I probably could have saved myself some money if I'd have done a little bit more research, a little bit more studying and talking to people that have done it, and more or less built a kit myself. But this is what I got, and this is what I'm going to use today. We'll see how it does. And if I don't like the way it works, well, then I will work on making my own kit, making my own plugs. I suspect the plugs for the front forks, you know, are going to do their job just fine. I'm not so sure about the extension. This little piece right here, the extender for the rear shock, I probably need to just go ahead and find a whole new rear shock. We'll work on that. This will buy me some time for now. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be recording everything today for a couple of reasons. As I've said before, I am not a mechanic. These are not meant to be how-to videos. These are DIY. Can I figure it out how to do it? Can I make it happen? So I'm not being a mechanic, not being an expert. There are plenty of those on YouTube and Facebook. So, you know, if you need some expert advice, reach out to one of those experts that are on there. This, again, just can I figure it out? So you don't want to see me sitting here studying and thinking and spending a lot of time, you know, trying to figure it out. I figured out in my last few videos that I've posted and watched, I do way too much talking. I feel like I've already done too much talking now. So it's just going to be, let's get to it and see if we can do it. What is it? One of the guys I've heard on YouTube says, nothing to it but to do it. So let's do that. Also, I'm going to have my heater running. It is New Year's Eve. It is cold outside. And so I'm going to have that heater running. It makes a lot of noise. Also got the TV going. Got a Musty One video playing today. If you're not familiar with Musty One and you like DIY stuff, go check him out. Musty One, M-U-S-T-I-E 1. He's got some excellent videos on there. And of course, if I'm playing that in the background, I got to worry about copyright and stuff like that. Got my knee savers out, got my tools out, got my parts set up. Don't pay attention to my shop. It's an absolute disgusting mess. I got way too much going on out here. But let's jump in here and I'll check in as I'm going along. I'm gonna start by removing the plastics and the seat and stuff, gaining access to everything I need. That's pretty straightforward. You don't need how do you do it on this? Just start looking for nuts and bolts that you can remove to take off parts. So let me take these parts off and then I'll check back in along the way and show my progress or what I'm struggling with and how things are going. See you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. I apologize for the background noise. Got my heater running. It's a little loud. I've got all the plastics off and the fuel tank off. Got those sitting aside so I can access and get off this rear shock. It's only held in by a pin here in the front and a pin here in the back. Got to remove this cotter key. That pin slips out. Remove that cotter key and that pin slips out and the shock comes out. I'll get that out, clean it up, and then go through the steps of disassembling it and installing the extension on that. I will update you as we go. Well, good morning. It is the next day, New Year's Day, about 6:30 in the morning. Typical fashion. Apologize for the noise, by the way. Got the heater going, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Anyways, typical fashion. When the new year rang in last night, I was fast asleep in my bed. I haven't seen midnight on New Year's Eve in several years. Just not something I'm all that excited about, I guess. Anyways, been awake since about 4:45. Tossed and turned in the bed, laid there, couldn't go back to sleep. So I thought, well, let's get up and do some work. I did not get as far yesterday as I wanted to, because in typical fashion as a dad, and all you dads will know this, kept getting interrupted yesterday to do other things for the wife, stuff like that. So I'm back out here this morning. When we last left off, I was getting the shock out, the rear shock absorber out, and we did that. Popped 2 pins out, got it out. To install this extension, shock extension on it. Couldn't figure out how to compress this thing, the spring, to get the keeper off and get the spring off so that I could remove the end and install the extender. So I got smart. I put it back in the bike as it was, compressed it, pushed down on the frame, compressed it, ran some zip ties through there, had my son-in-law come out and provide an extra set of hands for me. Compressed it, ran some zip ties up through there, zip tied the spring in its compressed state, and that was enough to let me get that keeper off. So now we got the extender on and gonna cut these zip ties. Do this on camera in case it explodes in my face. Here we go. There's one. Try to do this while holding the camera. There's 2. Oh, there's the one. All right. Now I just got to get the zip ties out, reinstall it on the bike. Hey, there's my finger. Sorry about that. Let's get these zip ties off here, put it back on the bike, and I'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. All right, got the rear shock absorber reinstalled. And it does show an increase in height, the gap from here to the tire. What that is going to translate into in actual, when my kid's actually sitting on it, I don't know yet. I can tell by the amount of slack in the chain that it obviously has done its job, I guess we'll say. I'll have to adjust that chain, the slack out of that chain here, but we'll do that later. Right now, we're going to get to removing these shock absorbers. Again, I've never done this. This is my first effort into this. I do know I have to remove the handlebars and of course all the accessories on there. I think to remove them from the frame, obviously I'm going to have to, I believe this is called the triple tree. I'll have to remove that. And I think I have, well, obviously I have to take them off the wheel, so I have to remove the front wheel there. So I got to figure that out. I'm going to read my climber's manual on how to do that. Something I did notice fooling around with this, look at this right here. That ain't supposed to be loose like that. That's loose. I can turn that with my hand. So hopefully, let me show you that again without my fat finger in the way. This right here, this bolt, finger loose. I can turn that with my finger. So that's obviously not right. Hopefully no damage done there. Another thing I noticed in reinstalling the shock, see if I can get you where you can see it. This thing's taking a lick at some point. I'm kind of holding the phone kind of square with the frame best I can, and this right here is torqued just a little bit. I don't know how well that shows up on the camera, but, and I should probably fix that or replace that, but I'm not, because I mean, my kid's not going to be riding it that hard. So, and he's been riding it quite a bit with it like that. So I'm just going to leave it, let it be, see what happens. Like you can see, I don't know if you can see it on camera, that bushing is tweaked inside of there. But again, it's been working for my oldest son for the couple of years that he rode it, and my youngest son now, the several times that he's rode it since then. I am not sweating it. So let's get to work on these forks, and I'll update you, come back in a little bit and show you what kind of mess I've gotten into. See you in a bit. And we're back, and we have updates. All right, I have completed the rebuild of the front forks. Let me talk a little bit about what that process entailed. In the last video, I think I said, or the last segment I shot, I think I said that needed to remove the handlebars to get the forks off, but that was not the case. I was able to loosen these two top bolts and just leave them sitting there. This side actually came out without removing the handlebar. This one was captured in there, so it had to stay. Then I loosened these pinch bolts right here, in here. Of course, first I had to remove the front wheel. That wasn't too terrible. One bolt through there, actual bolt through there. I did discover that it was missing the cotter key, so I've got a new one over here. I'm going to pop in there here in a second. I had to loosen back the brakes off to get the brake, I guess you'll call that a hub. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I'm going to call it. This side out to completely get the wheel out of there. And then after loosening the pinch bolts, I was able to slip these out. Breaking down the shock the fork wasn't near as complicated as I thought. These are pretty simple. They're on the bottom here, right up in there. There's an Allen bolt. I believe it's a 6mm. Break that loose. I had to mount the fork in my shop vise to get enough torque to break that loose. It was in there pretty tight. I was very surprised. And let some of the oil drain out, and then that holds a rod inside of this part here. So I had to pull the hex bolt has to come all the way out for that rod to come out. I did completely disassemble them. Well, you have to replace the oil seal, which is located inside the top cup of this bottom section of the fork. So you have to, it took me a second to figure out, you have to fully remove that hex bolt to be able to pull the shock apart, or the fork apart. So once I figured that out, I pulled it apart, pulled this piece out of the bottom piece. The oil seal that was in nasty shape sits in this top collar, got it out, replaced that seal. This little segment here is actually taking place several days later, because, let me back up a bit. Once I started pulling these apart, I realized these dust seals were dry rotted, and they essentially disintegrated in my hand. So I had to order a pair of dust seals there and wait for those to come in. And then of course it's deer season up here, so I've been doing some hunting, and of course we had holidays and stuff, so it's kind of, you know, delayed me a little bit. Anyways, back on it here. So replace the oil seal inside, replace the dust seal, put the shocks back together. There's a long spring inside of here. Take that out. The spacer kit that I ordered specifies that before you put the long spring back inside this tube, you drop the spacer. And I think a lot of guys probably put their spacers on top of the spring. And I really don't see where it would have mattered whether it put it on the bottom or on the top, but I went ahead and followed the instructions that came with the kit and put that spacer in first, then the long spring. Then I had to get a little creative in how to compress that spring enough to get the retainer. I guess you would, it's not really a washer. Looks like a washer, but it's got a hex hole, 8mm hex hole through the center of it. That screws inside there and retains, you know, the spring. Well, with the you know, that much of a spacer now on the bottom, I had to be able to compress the springs enough. So I had to get creative with that, but I did figure it out. I didn't record it. I probably should have, in the interest of helping anybody else that's trying to do this. But if you think about it long enough, you can figure it out. It's not really difficult. Anyhow, once I figured that out, got the spring retainer screwed back in, got it to the proper depth, and it was rebuilt. The second side, I did the right side second. It went way faster. It was just a matter of a few minutes because by then I knew what I was doing. So got them back together. I did have to clean, especially this side up here. This fork tube, had to clean it up. There was some corrosion spots on it that I was concerned would tear this dust seal up. None low enough to get the oil seal, but I was concerned about this dust seal. So I just took some really fine grit sandpaper and sanded those smooth to where I couldn't feel them with my fingernail, and then polished them back up with some steel wool. The other side wasn't as bad, just needed to get wiped down. Anyways, so then put it all back together in reverse order, and here we are. Now all I need to do is adjust the front brakes and put the plastics back on, and the gas tank and the plastics back on, and adjust the rear chain, or the only chain. Anyway, adjust that chain, tighten it back up, and we will get a first look at the improvements. I can see a little bit of difference. Again, as I said before, I'm a bit skeptical if we're going to get the 4 inches that this kit says it could. I think it gives a range of 2 to 4 inches. It's probably closer to the 2 inches. Anyways, did that. Oh yeah, the kit that I ordered for the front suspension came with the correct fork oil, pre-measured for each side in little containers. So just dump that in before I put the spring retainer back in. And so hopefully that was the right amount. I did see one guy who was doing his that said that had to be, I believe with the springs, with the tube compressed, the oil level had to be 6.5 inches from the top of the of this fork tube here. I don't know if there was enough oil in the 2 little containers that this kit came with to bring it to that. I don't know how accurate that is, but I just followed the directions and dumped the oil in that they sent with it, And we'll see, I guess, once we get it back on the ground, we'll see if that does it. If you can't tell, I'm a little skeptical of this kit. I do, as I said previously, I do believe I could have saved myself some money doing a little bit more research and making some of these parts myself. The spacers, especially for the forks, easy enough to figure out to make your own spacers. And that rear shock extender piece, I really think I probably would have been better off finding a shock, a new shock for that. Either, something off I think a KX65 shock is one that's used a lot to replace that. It's got a heavier spring on it and it's slightly longer. That probably would have been the better option, and it may be the option that I end up going with in the future. We'll see how this one does. If I do, I'll follow up with that at a later time, a whole later video on that. For now, let me get to work on reassembling plastics, adjusting these front brakes, adjusting the chain, and then we'll get it down. Oh, and I got to put the extended kickstand on it. I may go ahead and do that now. We'll see. All right, we'll be back. Well, we're back. Any of you guys ever been working on a project, maybe making a repair to something or putting together some piece of furniture or kid's toy that you bought them for birthday or Christmas or just because? And we all make the same joke at the end. Well, I didn't have too many parts left over, so it must be okay. Anybody know what that is? That is the retainer clip that goes on top of the oil seal, in this case, on the right front fork. Got everything back together, the forks reinstalled, shot that last little segment of video, put the plastics back on the front, adjusted the brakes, got all that set, which I never knew exactly how to adjust brakes. I had general theory, but general idea of how to do it, but had never actually learned exactly how to do it. So that was fun to learn, good to know. And piddled around, got the gas tank back on it and the seat and the rear fairing. What else did I do? I don't know, piddled around with one thing or another. Was getting ready to adjust the tension on the chain and walked over to my workbench over on the other side of the shop to grab something, and I found that laying on the bench. Usually when I take something apart, I lay it down in a kind of a methodical way in the order that it came apart, in an effort to help me to remember how to put it back together and to not forget, having, to put everything back together, put all the parts back in there. Tonight, my son came out, and my youngest son, Jet, who rides this bike, and he came out, wanted to see how things are going. And so I took the opportunity, hey, let's jump in here with me. Let's learn a little bit. So I walked him through, talked him through what we were doing. And I took that other shock off, or fork off, the right front fork, or right fork. Took it off and went over there, and we were taking it apart. And I pulled this clip out, and it was kind of nasty and corroded a little bit. So I handed it to him in a piece of steel wool, said, hey, clean this up real good. And he did a good job on it, and he laid it down over there on the bench, and I didn't think about it because I was excited to have him out here paying attention and learning. And, well, I didn't follow my normal procedure, and that's what happened. But that's okay. I was very glad to have him out here and have him be a part of this. So it's a worthwhile thing. I got it. So that means tomorrow, this is the part I can't just say, well, screw it, it'll be okay without it. Obviously, that keeper is in place to keep that oil seal in place for a reason. So tomorrow, it's midnight. I'm tired. I thought about going ahead and pulling it all apart tonight and taking care of it. It won't take long. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Actually, I'm gonna run up, grab me a Diet Dr. Pepper because I'm thirsty and I'm frustrated, and liquid courage. Um, so we'll get out here again tomorrow morning. I'll take that right front fork back off, put this keeper back in place, and reassemble it. I won't run through, I won't record that because, well, there's really no reason. But I do like the way it's sitting up. I do notice a difference. Got the new kickstand on, so that'll work. New kickstand's almost too tall to me. It looks like it could be about a ½ inch shorter, but it is what it is. As long as the bike doesn't fall over to the right, it'll be good. I like the way it's sitting up. Of course, this is without my kid sitting on it, so we'll see how it looks once he sits on it. So the next video you'll see will be him riding it around the yard. It may be a part of this video, probably be a part of this video, just to give some, some wrap up to it, some final. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. I'm so tired and frustrated at the moment. Some satisfaction of a job complete. So I'll include a little bit of him riding it around the yard again so we can see the difference in how it sits up versus how it did previously. But so far, I like the way it looks. We'll see how it rides. All right, thanks a lot. Well, here we are. Finished project, or finished product, whatever you want to call it. Got the suspension kit installed without too many hiccups. Took me a little while to figure everything out, but I think we successfully got it together. Got a nice little lift on it. I do see a difference just in sitting height there. Unloaded. We'll see what it looks like when my boy rides it, when he gets on it. I'm gonna go pick him up from school here in just a little while and bring him home and let him ride it before he goes to youth church tonight and see what he thinks. Got it fired up. It hadn't been started in more than a month, 6 or 7 weeks. But because once I realized that front fork had dumped all its oil, I didn't let the boy ride it anymore. Didn't want to tear anything up in the fork. So it hasn't been started, but I got it started. Took a few kicks, but got it going. I tell you, I do notice a difference already in the suspension just for me kick starting it before the lift kit. When I would kick start it, it would bottom that back shock out. So I definitely notice a difference. It doesn't do that anymore, and it sits up higher and it looks good. I like the looks of it. So I'm hoping that it will perform well when my kid is riding it. A couple other things I need to do to it. It'll need a new chain and sprockets here soon. So I'll do that. It needs them now, but I'm gonna take care of that soon. I still need to do some adjustment on the carburetor, figure out why it won't idle. I've done some reading and some research, and it seems that once you delete the oil injection pump and run premix, that you have to rejet. So I'm gonna educate myself a little bit, watch some videos and talk to some guys. I'll probably run down to the Yamaha shop and just down the road from me and talk to those guys and have them educate me a little bit and teach me what I need to know there, and then look at rejetting and resetting, readjusting the carburetor. It needs new tires. These tires that are on it are pretty weather cracked, but they're holding pressure. And again, my boy's just not going to be out doing motocross or anything like that. He's just riding around the yard or riding around the field out at my brother-in-law's place, so or anywhere else. So for now, they'll do fine as long as they're holding air. I'm not worried about them come flying apart. I'm gonna do some work on that kickstand. This bike sits with that kickstand. That's an extended kickstand, 11-inch kickstand. Of course, when you raise the suspension, the stock kickstand leans way too far to the left, almost to the point of falling over. But as it is now with that 11-inch kickstand, it sits almost upright too much. It will, with just a little bump, it'll fall over to the right. So I think what I'm probably going to do there at some point is take the kickstand off, cut the foot off the bottom of it, and then cut about a 1/2 inch, maybe an inch off the kickstand itself, and then re-weld the foot and see if that takes care of that. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. Other than that, there's not really a whole lot left to do to it except let the boy ride it. Just to recap, I bought this several years ago off a friend. I think I gave either $200 or $250 for it. He said he had a new top end kit for it, and I said I'll take it. And he lived at the time a couple, 3 hours away. So in the time frame that I drove, it took me to drive up there, he went ahead and put the new top end in it, new head, new piston. And so we got it home. The carburetor, it would run, but it wouldn't run well. Carburetor was pretty gummed up, and it had an aftermarket carburetor on it, which from all the reading and studying I've done, those generally don't work out too well. And then, so we got it home, but we got it to run. Of course, it leaked fuel out the overflow every single time. No matter how I adjusted the float, couldn't get that to stop. But we dealt with it, you know, it was fine. Then a buddy of mine, I needed some work done to it, and I wasn't in a position at that time to do a whole lot of work to it. Didn't have time to dig in. And so a buddy of mine said, hey, bring it over, let me work on that carburetor, see what I can do, and take care of a couple other things. I forget what all it needed at the time. But he went through, he got another carburetor for it, again, an aftermarket carburetor, and had the same problems. It would leak like a sieve, but at least it would idle and all of that. So here a while back, and then my boy rode it for a couple of years, and then we put it away, and then it started dumping oil out the what turned out to be the shaft seal had gone bad. And so we just parked it, and it sat for 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. And I decided it was time to get it going again, revive it, you know, paint or get off the ladder. And so I went and found a new OEM carburetor for it, Mikuni, excuse me, and a new petcock, because my buddy had put a new petcock in it, but again, an aftermarket one, and it you couldn't turn it from off to on without a pair of pliers. It was just super stiff. And so I got a new petcock, OEM petcock, and put that on, put the new carburetor on, put a new spark plug in it, fixed the shift shaft seal, and we got it going for my boy Jet here a few months ago. And my youngest son, because my oldest son's really too big to ride it now. It'll be interesting to see how the new suspension handles him. He's unfortunately, like his dad, a big old boy, but we'll see. And so I think for now I put a new air box on it, a new intake tube. I'm considering doing some of the air box mods, or even deleting the air box and maybe running that, the filter, performance filter, straight off the carb. I'm hesitant to do that. I'm not sure about that because, I mean, it's right there in front, you know, behind the front wheel, sucking up all the dust, but then so is the air box. So really, what's the difference there? And it would be far easier to keep it maintained, cleaned and re-oiled. So I may go ahead and do that. Again, I just need to educate myself some. Anyways, we got it back together. And you notice, I notice in my videos, I say anyways a lot instead of anyway. I'm working on that. I also do some funny mouth noises like that, you know, that are obnoxious to me. So I'm trying to be more conscientious of that. And, you know, whatever. Probably nothing to break a big sweat over. Anyways, there I did it again. Anyway, got it back together here. So let me go pick up the boy, and bring him back home and let him ride for a little bit, and we'll close out the video with that. If any of you guys have been watching this, I appreciate it. Feel free to leave me some comments. I get a few comments here and there, but I'd like to hear your feedback. You know, good, bad, or ugly. I know there's going to be some people out there that they just love to jump ugly on the internet and on YouTube videos and everything. I will say once again, I am not a mechanic. I am not an expert in this. I am learning as I go. I'm making mistakes, and I'm trying to learn from those mistakes and get better at this kind of stuff. So feel free to leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think about what we've done to it so far. What can we do to improve it? Tell me about your projects. I'd love to hear about your projects. You got a channel you're posting some stuff on? Let me know. I'll take a look at it. Give you a follow if I like it, you know. And if you don't care, I know everybody says this, but you know, trying to grow something here. Give me a like, a comment, you know, subscribe if you think what I'm doing is worth watching. Otherwise, appreciate you checking this one out, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Yep, I can see a difference on it, the way it sits up now. Good. It doesn't like this cold weather. It's about 40 degrees out here. And of course the carburetor needs some adjustment.
Can I go the second?
Go for it. Take it down again. Look up. It makes me nervous. He hadn't ridden 6 or 8 weeks, so, and he's still a new rider. Move, you idiot. It's all right. He's not the smartest dog in the world. He's lovable, but him's a box of rocks. Old stray somebody dumped off a year or so ago. We took him in, made him our own. camera work not great. All right, you made a couple laps now. Tell me what you think.
It's great.
Yeah, it does sit
really
a lot
cool
better.
outside.
Let me get this side shot. It does sit a lot higher.
Yeah, it does.
Good deal. I've
come to the decision that it is very cold outside.
I wasn't so sure how well this suspension kit's going to work out, but it looks like it does all right. All right, take off on it.
Okay.
Well, there you have it, guys. Another fun little project. As you can hear, definitely needs some carb adjustment. We'll get to that. May or may not cover that in the video. Probably will, just to tell you what I've learned in case anybody else is going through the same thing. But I'm happy to see him riding again. Glad I was able to take this on and figure a few things out. For good, better, or worse. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. If you've been watching till this point, appreciate it. Holler at me in the comments. Tell me your thoughts. All that good stuff. Later. Come on. Uh-oh, what's up?
I know what you mean by steering. All you have to do to cut it sharp now with the lift kit, that. All you have to do.
Yeah, makes it more responsive.
Yeah, I
Good
had
deal.
to crank it to get it to go.
Gotcha.
And so this, I like it a lot, and you only have to go that much if you lean into it, and
Yeah.
it turns.
You're learning.
Better.
Hit that bump over there you like hitting there again.
I don't like hitting it. I love hitting it.
There you go. I could work with the zoom here. Little spot right here he likes hitting. Gonna make me dizzy following him around the yard. Well, there it is. Once again. I'm thinking when I do the sprockets on it, might go a tooth or two smaller in the front, a couple too smaller in the rear. Give them a little more torque on takeoff. We'll see. The dogs are playing there. All right, we're out. Later.